Hello everyone, right away I want to thank you for coming back to my channel for another video. Today we are once again talking about something that is near and dear to my heart, and that's how to make yourself into a better version of you. The exercise I'm going to be talking about today is one that I think has changed my life for the better, and I mean that seriously, so hopefully I can convince you of its value, because I really believe that engaging with the question I'm going to be asking you today can make a positive difference in your life. That's the goal, at least. Which brings me to my next point. So right away, I will ask the question that I know the algorithm is dying for me to get to, which is, why do I think this video is worth your time? Here's why. I want to help you actualize your full potential and achieve your goals. I've designed this video to that end. I think that the question I'm going to ask can help us conceptualize the path that we're on, and by having a deeper understanding of that path, I think we can put ourselves in a better opportunity, in a better position to actualize our full potential, to achieve our goals. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on for the duration of the video, how to help you make yourself a little bit better. And before we go further, I'll say two quick things. The first, the contents of this video are taken from a lecture I gave during the fall of 2020 for a class I'm teaching at Johns Hopkins University titled Meanings to Being, Using Reading and Writing as Tools to Author the Self. It's the 4th weekly writing assignment. And the second point I'll make is, if you enjoy this video, if you find it interesting or helpful or useful, I ask that you please let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Leave a like, hit the subscribe button. Sorry to put this in the front of the video, but it really means a lot to me. So that's out of the way, let's get into it. All right, so first things first, this week I asked my students to visualize the opposite of their ideal future. Not exactly the most exciting thing or the most fun thing to do in the world, but I think it offers some seriously tangible personal benefits. But I didn't just ask them to visualize the opposite of their ideal future. I didn't just ask them to think about it. I asked them to write about the opposite of their ideal future. And I'll say now that maybe you don't like writing. I think that's fair. I think that's totally fine. Sometimes I don't even like writing, but I'm hoping you'll give this exercise a chance, because I think it can function as, a small sliver of time throughout your day that doesn't cost you anything but the time itself, 15 or 20 minutes, and I think everybody has that. It's just this little sliver of time throughout your day where you can make yourself a little bit better. I teach writing classes at Johns Hopkins University. I love writing. I want to communicate my love for writing to you because I think it can help you improve yourself, and hopefully by the end of this video, you agree with me, at least to some extent. So here goes. So like I've already said, I asked my students to write about the opposite of their ideal future. In case you didn't catch the video that this one is technically in response to, for our first writing exercise, I asked my students to use writing to visualize their ideal future 5 years from now. I know this might seem silly and a little far-fetched, but I hope you'll bear with me, because I do think there's a serious upside to being willing to construct an ideal that exists in the distant future. I think the overwhelming majority of us want a better life for ourselves. Unfortunately, I can't promise anything tangible, but I think this is a system that can help bring about positive change in your life, and that's, again, what I want. The upside is this. When you use writing to construct an ideal, you're beginning to construct a plan for your future. You're saying, okay, this is the destination I'm hoping to move closer to. If you'll forgive me for the cliche, it's like you're setting out on a 5-year road trip. And once you have some idea of where you're going, the next question is one that involves working backwards, which is to say that it involves seriously asking yourself, how do I get there? How do I move from where I am now toward this, distant ideal, from point A to point B? And I'll say now that the other writing exercises that I assigned to my students had to do with using writing to visualize habit improvement and the identification of positive qualities in admirable people. These exercises were designed to help the person writing construct some daily system that is likely to help them marry their ideal, which is to say their plan that takes place in the future, marry their ideal with the present, marry their future with the present, or a better way of saying it might be, it offers a way to put your future in communication, in direct communication with your present. And I think that's the first step that needs to be taken if you're going to actualize or give form to something that closely approximates an ideal future, let's call it. With these exercises completed, the ones I've kind of I ran through a second ago, the way I see it, it's the perfect time to add fuel to the fire. And I think we can feed the fire, you know, to put it more bluntly, I think we can more effectively motivate ourselves to follow the rules we've laid out by using writing to visualize the opposite of our ideal future. And using writing as a tool to visualize the opposite of our ideal future is as simple as asking ourselves the question, what would my life look like in 5 years if I didn't take care of a single responsibility for the entire stretch of time, for the entire 5 years? Basically, if I just sat myself down on the couch and like turn the TV on and just let myself rot. Now let me pause here for a second. Why am I asking you to ask yourself this question? It's a pretty extreme question, I understand, asking you to imagine the consequences of basically doing everything incorrectly for 5 years. And this is what I'll say next. Yes, you're right. Odds are the chances that this is actually going to happen are, you know, slim to none, if not zero. But that doesn't mean that some greater purpose isn't served when we meditate on the idea itself, and I'll say more about that right now. The reason I think this exercise is valuable and worth your time isn't because I think you run the risk of doing nothing for 5 years. It's like cringe. I think it's worth your time because it situates you in between two spectral opposites, and I think you can use these spectral opposites, you know, your ideal future and the opposite of your ideal future, to negotiate with the present in such a way that optimizes how you interact with your daily responsibilities. There's a quote I'll mention now, and that's, quote, "Men are not piano keys." That's a Dostoevsky quote from Notes from Underground, a novel we read for this course. Your ideal future is an ideal future for a reason. It requires absolute commitment and basically no deviation from absolute discipline. And I think anyone who knows anything will tell you that doing that sounds like a great idea in terms of, you know, what you might in theory be able to achieve. But it looks like tyranny when you try to put it into practice. And that's because men, human beings, we aren't machines, we aren't piano keys, we aren't capable of just the same sound over and over. There has to be, you know, some variety. We're animals, we aren't machines. And the same way that, you know, we can't necessarily hope to do every single thing right, the same goes for the opposite of our ideal future. It's basically statistically impossible to do everything wrong for all of eternity. The same way it's basically statistically impossible to do everything right for your entire life. And once we accept those two things, the first being that we can't do everything right and the second being that we can't do everything wrong, I think we find ourselves situated between a best case scenario and a worst case scenario. So that's what I mean when I say that we're situated between spectral opposites that allows us to optimize the way that we interact with our responsibilities in the present. And understanding how we are always in communication with our location along this spectrum, how we're always between an image of heaven and an image of hell, I think that can inform how we interact with the present. Completing this writing exercise, as well as the others before it, can put us in a better position to make wiser decisions because the exercises offer us a clarifying perspective. They offer us an image that we are put in communication with anytime we make a positive or negative decision as it pertains to the sort of future the behavior is delivering us towards. And when I put it like that, what I really mean is that, you know, if we do, let's say we handle the responsibility correctly or as best we can, you know, odds are it's going to, you know, help us in the long run. It's going to bring us closer to giving form to something that approximates our ideal future. Whereas if we think about the opposite, if we think about, you know, botching a responsibility that's on our plate, we can understand, I think, or at least begin to understand how it works in a way that just juxtaposes the positives. It brings us closer toward manifesting something that is the opposite of our ideal future. And that's kind of the way that I want to get you thinking about, you know, how you interact with the present, that every decision kind of takes on some greater meaning if you're willing to integrate a large enough system into your daily habits, your daily living. So I'll say again in closing that I want you to achieve your goals and actualize your full potential. And I think writing about our ideal as well as its opposite can increase the probability that we interact with the world in a way that is, if nothing else, more likely to generate a positive outcome. That's everything I've got. Before I go, I want to thank you, my wonderful viewer, for sticking with me to the end. I also want to thank my video editors, Joe and Bach. I couldn't do this without you guys. I really appreciate the both of you. And again, I'll thank you one more time, my lovely viewer. If you found this video interesting or useful or helpful, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time.